Michelangelo cut out and dissected many of the cadavers in his local morgues. Couldn't get rich people because those were too well protected. And he couldn't get poor people. He couldn't dissect poor people's corpses, because their corpses weren't very well preserved. They were basically just sewage. So he had the only choice of the small percentage of people who did, in fact, have a corpse that wasn't very well protected. Now, you might think, well, okay, that's not terrible. Unfortunately, during this time, in the Renaissance, cadavers and cutting out and dissecting cadavers was punishable by death. It was one of the worst crimes you could do because it was a major sin. So, when thinking of Michelangelo, you could see the sheer dedication he had just to the anatomy and physiology of his pieces. That is just one aspect. And it's very easy to think that, well, this is the Renaissance. Polymaths and Renaissance men as a term, were very common, so this time must have just been a time where you could do great pleasure. This is not true. This is in fact the opposite. The opposite is true. The medieval time has just coincided, or has just ended, and that was one of the hardest times in humanity. It was in fact one of the times of the greatest pessimism perhaps ever in human history. It was perhaps the most time of pessimism where kingdoms would purposely shoot themselves in the foot because they had believed that it was just the Dark Ages. It was just the Dark Ages, man. So, fortunately, this carried on into the Renaissance time. There wasn't one specific event that allowed men and women to become polymaths, become great men, to work on art that is remembered today. How many of you have seen Michelangelo's David? Sure, every one of you have, especially after today. That was my project. So, the love for the arts that Michelangelo showed simply by dedicating his life. He was insane, man. He was insane. This was not for monetary value. And many people would like to say that, well, you should do things even whenever it's not monetarily convenient. But you should follow your purpose, much like how these men did. Thinking not that you would become poor, starving artist trope. Because you will actually be very rich from this. Very good example of today is Joe Rogan. It's surprisingly, Joe Rogan, he felt his purpose was to do some type of podcast entertainment, to do some type of speaking with men of his time, of our time. Well, he realized, I have to make money from this somehow. Before ending off this video, I wanted to add one more thing, which is that you yourself can do exactly this. That is exactly why I wanted to remix this project, because I couldn't speak on the message per se. It was more of an analysis. So I want to propagate the message onto you guys, that you guys could do even 1% being as great as people like Michelangelo or Da Vinci, and follow your purpose in your own life, and you'll be super successful with it. I know you guys will be, especially because this is a dual credit class. You guys are more than smart enough to. So smarts aren't the bottleneck, your action is. So follow your dreams, and monetary value will follow.